welcome back to High Point again. So today in this video we are going to learn about yet another romantic tragedy by William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. So Romeo and Juliet, this title is too familiar and too famous all over the world, and a hard-crossed lover is named as Romeo. So if ever a person is a hard-crossed lover, then we call them, we name them as Romeo. So the name got itself very famous in that way. So in this video we will have, like always, an introduction and character list. Then we will go to the detailed summary, and as a conclusion we will discuss the major themes of this play. So if you want to follow me, you can find me in these platforms. You can visit my website for more condensed, systematically arranged, simplified audio lectures in my website www.highpoint.in, and in order to know the course details. And if you want to join a WhatsApp group for news and updates related to NTA, UGC, NET, and also daily quiz related to English language and literature, and as well as study materials related to it, you can obviously message me or WhatsApp me in this number given in the screen. And also you can follow me on Instagram. My ID is right here, ligimaria90, and you can follow me for more quick and more study cards and small videos and reels and posts related to English language and literature. And you can Instagram, you can save the study cards and all, in your personal account you can save them all. So Instagram has its own benefits. So if you have an account and if you are interested, you can follow me there too. And don't forget to message me in this number if you want to join the WhatsApp group that I have mentioned, and also visit my website www.highpoint.in. So don't wait for the next NTA, UGC, NET notification for the other session, for the next session. You can start from now onwards. So I have provided a 15% off for every other course that we are providing there. So if you want to know more, you can directly message me, or you can directly go to the website and you can subscribe the course, or you can have a free trial and demo materials, and you can know whatever we are providing there. So moving on, let's have the introduction to the play first. It's a tragic romance by William Shakespeare. So we can see that this is one of his first tragedies that Shakespeare has written, one of the major first tragedies that William Shakespeare has written. It's a romantic tragedy by Shakespeare, and it was written between 1591 and 1595 and first published in a quarto version in 1597. So this is important. It was first published in a quarto version that came out in 1597, because some other plays appeared first in the first folio of Shakespeare. When was the first folio appeared? It was in 1623. Remember this. So the quarto version of his plays appeared in 1597, and Romeo and Juliet found a place in that quarto version. And it was the most popular drama during his lifetime, along with Hamlet. See, Hamlet was so popular as a revenge tragedy, and it is one of the lengthiest, the long play by Shakespeare. And along with Hamlet is also a tragedy. So along with Hamlet, while Shakespeare was living, Romeo and Juliet is one of the major and popular drama by him. Hamlet is far more better than Romeo and Juliet, but still both of them were so famous, and also most frequently played play as well. So Romeo and Juliet, we can see that a lot of movie versions are there for Romeo and Juliet. And also after his first staging of this play, this was one of his frequently played play as well. And today the title characters are regarded as archetypal young lovers. So like I said already, that Romeo and Juliet, these names were regarded as, or even now regarded as, archetypal young lovers. So they are like proto patterns of young lovers. The plot is based on an Italian tale translated into verse as a tragical history of Romeo and Juliet by Arthur Brooke in 1562. So this translated book serves as the major source for this play for Shakespeare to create. So The plot is actually based on an Italian tale translated into verse as in the title, The Tragical History of Romeo and Juliet, and it was done by Arthur Brooke in 1562. And this was retold in prose with the title Palace of Pleasure by William Pinter in 1567. So two verses came out from that Italian tale. One was translated into a verse form by Arthur Brooke, and another version came out as a prose form which was titled as Palace of Pleasure by William Pinter in the year 1567. In the latter ages, several people heavily revised this play. So, since it was a popular play while he was living, and after that also it was the most staged play as well. So, several kind of revisions came for this play. So, the play underwent revisions. Now, let's see characters of the play. So, we can see in this play two great families we have here, two famous families of Italy. We can see here House of Capulet and House of Montague. See, House of Montague and House of Capulet, and these two characters, they belong to either of these famous famous families, and they have conflict and grudge, and they have fiction to each other. They don't have a smooth relation. These two houses, they don't have a smooth relation between them. They have friction, they have problems, they have issues, and it is growing every day. It is growing more and more. So these families, they won't agree to marry two young people into other family, like that is obvious, right? Now let's see the characters of the play. Now the ruling house of Verona. So some people related to the ruling class also there involved in this play. Prince Escalus. Escalus is ruling prince of Verona. Count Paris. Count Paris is kinsman to Escalus, who wishes to marry Juliet. So Count Paris is the man who want to marry Juliet. Juliet is only 16 or 13 when when we can see her. Yeah, Juliet Capulet is 13 years old, and Count Paris want to marry Juliet. And Mercutio is another kinsman of Escalus, a friend to Romeo. But now Count Paris wants to marry Juliet, while Mercutio is another kinsman to Escalus, a friend to Romeo. So these people, they are ruling the place, or ruling the country Verona, or ruling the place known as Verona. So now let's see which are the characters that we have related to House of Capulet. Capulus is the patriarch of the house of the Capulet. So he's the kind of head man, or the major person that is there in the house of Capulet. And Lady Capulet is the matriarch, his wife of the house of Capulet. And Juliet Capulet is 13-year-old daughter of Capulet, female protagonist. So Juliet, it is female protagonist. Look at her age, only 13 years old. And Tybalt is cousin to Juliet, nephew of Lady Capulet. So Lady Capulet's nephew is Tybalt, and he is cousin to Juliet. The nurse, Juliet's personal attendant and confidant. And Rosalind is Lord Capulet's niece. So the patriarch of House of Capulet, his niece is Rosalind. Romeo's love in the beginning of the story. So before the beginning of the story, or when the story has just began, Romeo is in love with Rosalind. Romeo was pursuing Rosalind, and while he was looking for Rosalind only, he met with Juliet, and his love interest all of a sudden changed or shifted towards Juliet. So that's what happening here. So Rosalind was the love interest in the beginning of the story for Romeo. And Peter, Samson and Gregory are servants of the Capulet household. So these are the main characters associated to House of Capulet. Now let's see House of Montague. Montague is patriarch of the House of Montague. Lady Montague is the matriarch of the House of Montague. Romeo Montague is the son of Montague in the play, and the male protagonist, and Benvolio is Romeo's cousin and best friend. Benvolio is Romeo's cousin and best friend, and Abram and Balthazar are servants of the Montague household. So Abram and Balthazar are the servants of the Montague household. See, I have included only the important characters here because it has a huge kind of or a lengthy kind of character list, so I just cut shorted it so that you can at least remember the important ones. And there are some other characters as well. Friar Lawrence is a Franciscan friar and Romeo's confidant. Friar John, so Friar John was sent by Friar Lawrence to deliver a letter to Romeo. So in the play you will understand that a letter was sent by Friar Lawrence to Romeo by through Friar John, which must be delivered immediately. Then apothecary who sells poison to Romeo. A chorus reads the prologue to each of the first two acts. So a chorus is also there. So remember that even though it is a romantic tragedy, it has a chorus, and chorus reads the prologue to each of the first two acts. Now let's move on to the summary of the play. So I have not divided this into act wise summary. Let's have the summary and what are the important events happening throughout the play. The play is set in Verona, Italy. So this whole play was based upon an Italian tale, right? And its translations done by two people. So obviously the setting of the play is in Italy. That you have to remember first. So make a note, if you are taking down some notes, make a note that Romeo and Juliet, the romantic tragedy, is happening in Italy. And the play begins with a secret brawl between the servants of Montague and Capulet as they are enemies. See, not only the main characters of each house they are enemies, but the servants, those who are working in each house, they are supposed to be enemies each other. So when the beginning of the play itself, we can see a brawl, a compact between the servants of Montague and Capulet as they are enemies. The Prince Escalus intervenes and declares that any further break in the peace will be punished by death. See, these two houses, they are not normal houses, like in the sense that they are so powerful, they are wealthiest houses in Verona. So any grudges happening, any fights or any frictions or any issues happening or growing between these two families actually going to ruin the whole peace system of the place or peace system of the country. So that the ruling people or the Prince Escalus doesn't want. So he warns and intervenes and declares each family that if further they are going to break down the peace, then that act will be punished by death. Okay. Later, Count Paris talks about marrying Juliet to Capulet. So what happens? Count Paris, he wishes to marry. He reveals about his wish to marry Juliet Capulet. But he asks the Count to wait for another 2 years and invites him to attend a party. So Count Paris reveals his intention to marry Juliet to Capulet. Capulet means the head of the family, the patriarch of the family. But Capulet asked him to wait for 2 years, and a party is going on in that evening. So and Capulet also invites Count Paris to attend the party, the Capulet ball that is going to happen in the evening. Lady Capulet and Juliet's nurse try to persuade Juliet to accept the offer of the Count. So now we can see that the mother, Juliet's mother and Juliet's nurse persuade Juliet, even though she is 13. That is quite obvious. There was not an unusual thing happening there. Even the woman, or even she's just a girl, right? So Juliet was persuaded by both of these people that in order to accept the offer made by the Count. So marrying a person like Count Paris is a prestigious thing, right? They'll get more power, and she will be in power too. She will be a countess. So in many ways it will actually empower the family Capulet, right? Meanwhile, Benvolio asked to Romeo about his recent depression. So Benvolio is Romeo's cousin and friend. So Benvolio asks about Romeo's recent depression and why he is sad and brooding. And Benvolio understood that it is because of the unrequited infatuation for a girl named Rosalind. So, like I said, when the story begins, Romeo's love interest was someone else, Rosalind Capulet, and he is frustrated and he is depressed because of the unrequited or unreciprocated love that or infatuation that he is feeling for this girl known as Rosalind. So they persuaded Romeo to attend the ball in hope of meeting Rosalind. So they decided to go. So Benvolio and Romeo, they decided to go to the ball, and they are not invited, guys. They actually trespassers. They if somebody finds them there, Romeo and Benvolio attending the ball in Capulet family house, then that's a great offense, and anything can happen. They will get they can get killed there. So but even then, Benvolio, Romeo being young and being so we can say that so adventurous and courageous, Romeo and Benvolio, they decided to attend the ball in hope of meeting Rosalind and express his love or ask for her decision. And in the ball, Romeo meets Juliet. So accidentally, what happens when Romeo was searching Rosalind, her whereabouts, accidentally he meets Juliet and falls in love with her immediately. See, he was love stricken, and he was depressed because of the unrequited love that he is feeling now, and because of that only he came to the ball, and he meets with Juliet, only a 13 years old girl, and suddenly he forgets about whom Rosalind, and now he is in all of a sudden love with her. Okay, that's what happening here. It is not, I don't know how is it possible, but still in Shakespearean comedies, especially love comedies, it's all like that. Love will happen within seconds and in first impressions as well. And Capulets knew that Romeo secretly sneaks into the house, but the Lord stops to kill Romeo because he didn't wish to shed blood in the house. So what happens? After some time, anyway, they will come to know that Romeo and Benvolio, they have entered into the ball. So the Capulets, they got an information that Romeo secretly sneaks into the house in order to attend the ball, and they don't know that Juliet and Romeo, they have met, and they have actually had some connection, and Juliet also fell in love with Romeo in that instance also. So Capulet stopped, the lord of the house stopped to kill Romeo because he didn't wish to shed a blood in the house. After the ball, the balcony scene occurs. So balcony scene is a famous scene in Romeo and Juliet. So like portrayed here, something like this happens. Later in the night, Romeo comes to the balcony of the Capulet mansion and hears the words of Juliet. So what happens? He has a kind of new enthusiasm in his life because he now fell in love with another woman, and now he is very curious about her. So he never departed the house after the ball. When they actually thrown out of the house, he never leaves the house. He lingers outside the house, and he comes back to the balcony of Juliet's room, and he overhears the words of Juliet, who vows her love to Romeo. So in that conversation, in that word, Juliet actually confesses her love towards Romeo, and he vows that she pledges that he will only love Romeo even though their families are sworn enemies. Romeo and Juliet meets and they agreed to get married. That's what happening in that balcony scene. That finally, after overhearing the words of Juliet, Romeo and Juliet finally meet and they agree to each other to marry each other. See, she is only 13 years old. They have just met and they don't know each other. Their families are enemies and they are not considering any of them. They just wanted to get married immediately. They hoped the help from Friar Lawrence, so they wanted to get immediately married, and they wanted help from Friar Lawrence, who can win the favor from the two families for their children's sake. So it's like they wanted to seek the permission of their families, so they went to Friar Lawrence, who is a confidant of uh, Romeo, so he wanted Friar Lawrence to seek a favor from two families for their children's sake. They secretly got married in the next day. So, with the help of Friar Lawrence, they got secretly married in the next day. Tybalt in the next day called Romeo in a duel as he sneaked into the Capulet house. So, in the public place, and when these two family people, Capulet family members or Montague family members, when they met, they will clash each other and they will make the situation worse. So Tybalt, who is Tybalt? Cousin to Juliet. So cousin to Juliet, Tybalt, he actually challenged Romeo in a duel as he sneaked into the house. He sneaked into the Capulet house, and Romeo, nobody knows that no, Romeo got married to Juliet. Then now he cannot no more fight with any of the family members of Capulet. So Romeo now consider him as a kinsman. See, now Romeo consider Tybalt as his kinsman and he refuses to fight. So Mercutio is offended by it. So Mercutio couldn't understand what happened to Romeo, why he is so calm, even though Tybalt actually worshipped so many swear words and challenges upon him. But Mercutio is offended by it, and Mercutio is mortally wounded when Romeo tried to stop the fight. So what happens? Mercutio is mortally offended. So Mercutio got enraged because of the words of Tybalt and Romeo's indifference to it. And Mercutio, when Romeo tried to stop the fight and saturate it, Mercutio got mortally wounded. Grief stricken and racked with guilt, Romeo confronts and slays Tybalt. So what happened? Romeo could not control anything and he felt so much guilty within him because he felt that because of him Mercutio is now mortally wounded. So he confronts and slays Tybalt now. Benvolio argues that his killing of Tybalt is just as he killed Mercutio. So Benvolio also argues that his killing of Tybalt is just. It is a justiceful act because he killed Mercutio. The prince intervenes and for the murder he made Romeo to exile from Verona. So the prince already declared that if any breach of peace happened between these families, then that will be punished by death. So the prince intervenes here, and for the murder that Romeo committed, he needs to exile from Verona. Okay. Romeo secretly spends the night before he leaves in the chamber of Juliet and they consummate their marriage. So they are already married in that day, and Romeo secretly spends the night before he leaves in the chamber. So before leaving the country in exile, Romeo secretly comes to meet Juliet and they consummate their marriage in that night. And misinterpreting Juliet's grief, Capulet agrees to marry her to Count Paris, but she disagrees to it and they threatens to disown her for that. So what happens? Juliet is now, now she is in grief because why? Nobody could understand, because Romeo and Juliet, they are in love and they got secretly married, and Romeo is now going away from the country. So Juliet cannot actually actually adjust with all these things all of a sudden. So she seems extremely grief stricken. So misunderstanding her feelings, Capulets, they agree to marry her off to Count Paris, but she disagrees. She cannot marry another person because she is already married to Romeo. They threaten her to disown her if she disagrees to marry Count Paris. She pleads to delay the marriage, but her mother rejected the request. So she pleads to delay the marriage at least for 2 years, but her mother rejects the request. Juliet went to Friar Lawrence for help. So what happens? She has no other person who knows about their secret marriage. So Juliet went to Friar Lawrence for help. So some or other way she needs to stop this marriage. So he said that he can put her in a death-like coma for 240 hours. So what happens? For 42 hours, there is a potion that she needs to drink, and by drinking that she can put her in a death-like coma for some 42 hours, And meanwhile, he can send a letter to Romeo informing it, and they can elope after that. So this was a fatal plan put forwarded by Friar Lawrence. So if everything goes well, then this is a wonderful idea. But nothing goes well in here, that we all know that, he said that, you can have a potion, you can have a medicine like thing, and you will be in a death like coma for 42 hours. And meanwhile, during that time, he will send a letter to Romeo informing about the current affairs, current developments, and he can come back and they can elope after that. So what a wonderful idea, but everything went wrong here. On the night before the wedding, she takes the drug and they found that she is dead and kept her in the family crypt. Crypt is a place where family members, after, it's a place to bury the family members. Crypt will be there for great families and all. So the wedding between Juliet and Count Paris all was set and everything was planned. So in the very previous night of the wedding, she takes the drug, and the other family members found that she is dead now, and her dead body was kept in the family crypt, and everybody was actually surprised for the act of Juliet. And the messenger from the friar didn't reach Romeo, but he learns about the death of Juliet from her servant Balthasar. So what happens? The friar immediately sent another friar with the message to Romeo, but the message delivered to Romeo lately. It was late, because before the friar reaches to Romeo, the messenger reaches to Romeo, he, from other source, from her servant Balthasar, Romeo learns about the death of Juliet. For every other person except Friar Lawrence and Juliet, everybody thinks that she is dead, but she only had a drug. Nobody knows that, and even he doesn't know that. He buys poison from an apothecary. So while he was returning to Juliet in order to see her for the last time, he buys poison from the apothecary and goes to Capulet's crypt to see her. There he encounters Count Paris, and Romeo kills him there. So Count Paris is the person who wanted to marry this young girl, and who was very adamant in marrying her. So Romeo, as soon as he confronts Count Paris, he kills him there. And what happens next? Romeo, still believing in her death, drinks the poison. So when he saw the dead body of Juliet, he cannot control, and nobody knows their secret, but their love was so passionate and intense. So he drinks the poison without consulting anybody. And Juliet then awakened and finds Romeo dead. So after 42 hours, she will be awakened, right, from that effect of the drug. So Juliet then awakened and then finds Romeo dead nearby her coffin. So she stabs herself with this dagger and joins him death. So as she saw that she cannot tolerate it, and now she realized that all the plans went wrong. So she stabs herself with his dagger and joins him in death. The family members of both families find the three of them dead in the crypt. So when the family members came to the crypt, they saw that three dead bodies. Who are they? Juliet, Romeo, and Count Paris. So they found three dead bodies in the crypt, and Friar Lawrence recounts the story of the two. So no one else other than Friar Lawrence knows their story. So he comes and he tells the story that they don't know. He tells the story of two star-crossed lovers for the two families. The two families reconciled. So for the sake of their children, if they were not enemies, their children are alive now, right? But because of their enmity, they lost their children. So the families reconciled with each other and agreed to end their violent feud. So with the reconciliation of these two families, the story ends in a positive note, but still the title characters are dead now. So these are some of the themes of the play. Love, of course, the major theme. Then fate and chance, duality. That means light and dark, time and fate. All these things are major themes of the play. See, this play does not have any complicated themes. It's a not a complicated, well, kind of tragedies going on. Two star-crossed lovers were there, and they could not get united with each other. So that is the major theme of the storyline of the play. But still, this is known for the great love passion discussed and portrayed in this play. So I hope this was helpful, this video was helpful. If it was helpful, please make a note of that comment in this comment section. And if you have any suggestions and queries, and also mention your major takeaway about this play in the comment section. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and this is my Instagram ID. And also, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, you can go to the description box. I have shared a link there to join it, and if not, you can message me directly in this given number here. And don't forget to visit my website www.highpoint.in. Don't wait for the next NTA UGC exam notification. You start learning today itself. So that's all about it. Let me meet you in the next video. And yet, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and also press the like button. So that's all about it. And if you want me to make any further videos related to English language and literature, then obviously you can mention that also in the comment section. So that's all about it. And keep loving literature and also strive for the best in your life. Bye bye. Thank you.